Last night, my husband and I assisted our daughter in her internship project, which is working on a regenerative farm, and we helped pick up and load over almost 1,600 chickens to be taken to be processed today. Yeah, 1,600 birds. That was quite the workout. Tons of lunges and squats and sweating through the clothes in the heat and humidity. And man, oh man, do I have a whole new respect for farmers and those who are out there in it every single day. I mean, we were just going for it in one project in the chicken roundup, but man, I so much more respect for people who do this every single day. It was quite a really cool opportunity. If you get the opportunity to help a local farmer with a roundup or with chores around the farm, go for it. Oh my goodness, it was so good for the soul just to get out into the country and breathe in that fresh air and really just put the work in and sweat it out. It was awesome. And the people they're just amazing. Farmers are amazing. It was a lot of fun. So anyway, today I would love to introduce you to a new friend of mine. Her name is Jade Twombly. She is also a nutritional therapy practitioner, and she's got quite an amazing story. So we kind of are broken this down into two parts because I really wanted for you to hear her story and what she's gone through, because I think so many of you will resonate with her, whether you're in high school or you're a mama. She kind of shares all of that, and it's really incredible. Then she's a specialist when it comes to burnout, preventing burnout, some really cool tips and tricks for digging yourself out of burnout. So this is a really exciting episode, and I hope that you can get something out of it that encourages you. So yeah, hold on to your seats, my friends. This is my friend Jade Twombly. So hey Jade, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to interview you. I was actually telling my daughter earlier about a little bit about what questions I was going to ask you, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, I can't wait to hear that one." She's like, "I need to listen to this one." So we're very excited and pumped to have you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be on your podcast and share any wisdom that I might have with your audience.
Why don't you first start by telling us a little bit who you are, where you've come from, and just your road from what I think was a high school athlete to today, and just kind of how you got to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me start with where I am now, and then we'll kind of go back.
Okay.
So I'm Jade Twombly. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner. I'm also a certified middle school science teacher, and I have taught both special ed at the high school level and middle school science. I'm a mama to a little boy named Dean. He's 3, and I also have a lovely golden doodle, Georgia, who's 3 as well. So my life is really full, just taking care of myself, taking care of them. It's just the 3 of us. And I'm so grateful just to be where I am today, the journey that has led me here. And I'm happy to share that with you as well today. So let me start kind of back from high school athlete me. As a kid, I was very active. I was a 3-sport athlete. I played, softball, basketball,
The girl version,
soccer, and indoor soccer, as well as like travel league softball. So sports were definitely something that was really my anchor. It was what I enjoyed doing the most. I loved being a part of a team, and I really thrived as an athlete. I was a very athletic kid, but I also had just this work ethic. Mm-hmm. I would practice and run off season, not just in season. And it was something that I was really passionate about. The one thing I did not like was all of the drama associated with sports. And that was really hard for me. And so I remember, being a high school athlete, and this is where kind of that health and mindset part comes in. I remember just feeling uncomfortable in my skin. I was not a heavy girl. I would say that I was very healthy. I am 5'8", and I was probably 135 to 145 pounds. So like I said, I was not overweight. I was very much a healthy individual. We ate healthy at home for the most part of what we knew at the time was healthy. But I just remember really not being happy with my body. I was comparing myself to my friends who were 5'2", 5'3", 100 pounds. And I, again, was 5'8". And so I always had this kind of like internal battle of like, I'm a great athlete, I'm physical, I'm fast, I'm all of these things, but also having this mixed relationship within myself about the way I looked and um, how much weight I was and all of those things kind
Mm.
of looking back that are so hard when you're in high school and you're growing up. And so that was kind of where my mindset was going into college. And in college, I wasn't an athlete. I had chose not to play in college. Looking back now, I wish I did, but that's another story for another time. But as my freshman year of college really progressed, I started having a lot of digestive discomfort. And to the point where I wasn't understanding why I was having so much pain in my digestion, and I just wasn't eating because it felt better at that time to not eat. Because if I didn't eat, the pain of being hungry was less than the pain of eating something and feeling just like cramping and bloating to the point that I looked like I was like 8 months pregnant, like so bloated. And that really led me on this pretty toxic journey with food that has ended to the beautiful place that I am now. And so I'd love to share a little bit more about that, if that's
Please,
okay.
yes. I'm just, oh my goodness, I'm listening to you and I'm like, wow, first of all, I don't know a single girl who goes through high school who does not battle the thoughts that you just shared. It's just so wonderful to hear you share that, especially as someone who is fit and active and like really in it at school. Even those who are doing all the beautiful things, I don't think anybody comes out of that season of life unscathed of challenge, questioning themselves and even their identity and what they look like. And yeah, no matter who you're with or what you're with, it's just, yeah, hearing that is just very comforting and encouraging.
Yeah, and it's
It's
exactly why I
normal.
want to share it. Yeah, I wanted to share it because it is normal and it is this experience that we all have. And it's so easy to look at others who maybe are, in your mind, potentially thriving and not really understanding that they're having those same
Exact
inner
thoughts.
conflict that
And
you are.
yeah, I love that. The inner conflict. That's a great word for it. Yeah. So then, and then also, so you went to school and you started having these digestive issues. And you're actually describing right now one of my current clients I'm working with, and just it's amazing how the digestive system works and how it can complicate. So it affects so many parts of your life.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
yeah,
So,
tell a little bit more about that.
yeah, let me bring you all back to freshman of college me. So a little more context. I'm 27 now, so this was
Not too long ago, then.
eight
You're still
years
young.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 years ago. I was a freshman at the time, and I was so exhausted.
Mm.
So not only was I not eating food because I was just really uncomfortable every time I ate food, I was also exhausted to the point that I was sleeping 12 hours a day, but then going to my doctor and saying to her, I'm so tired. I'm sleeping 12 hours a day and I'm not waking up with any energy. And she just told me, you should sleep more. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm sleeping 12 hours. Like, I'm barely awake in order to study for my classes, and I'm not doing another, job at the moment. I was just doing classes. And if you're a college student, you probably have about like 10 hours of like in class time a week, and then the rest is like out of school.
Depends on
Um,
your major, yeah.
yeah,
My daughter is
yeah.
a lot more than that, but yeah.
Well, my major was
Yeah.
general science and secondary
Yeah.
education. And
So
so for me, my freshman load, it equated to about 10 hours of schooling, of being in lecture. And so outside of that, I wasn't
yeah.
doing too much. There was no reason for me to be that tired. And so I was trying to navigate all of this kind of by myself. And at the time, it was really a big trend to be gluten-free. And so I went gluten-free. And I also, because I'm extreme, went dairy-free.
You go,
And
girl. Just tick all those boxes.
and what that did was it actually really helped me. And I was
It's
like,
amazing.
oh, this is really cool. I can now eat food again. And so I was eating all sorts of gluten-free processed foods and, not eating dairy. I was not getting enough calcium or micronutrients. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had started feeling better. And so I was like, this is great. And then there was that inner conflict again because I had maybe gained 10 pounds. I didn't gain 15, but maybe like 10 pounds. And I had a cousin who was selling Herbalife. And so I decided, well, I'm going to do the Herbalife shakes. And I
Yeah, why
did
not?
that and I felt terrible. And I wasn't losing any weight. Granted, I probably didn't really need to. I probably just needed to like go to the gym and gain some muscle back instead of, focusing on losing weight. But there's that inner conflict. And then I decided Herbalife sucked. I didn't like their shakes. But then I was on Instagram one day and I got this message from this girl, and she was an Arbonne representative. And Arbonne has their 30 Days to Healthy Living. And I said, you know what? I'm extreme. I'm going for it. And one thing about me is that I'm very type A. And if I say I'm going to do something, I do it all the way through every time.
I
And
like
so
you. See, I knew I liked you. We're very, very similar. Just dive into the deep end and go for
yeah,
it.
sometimes I should probably think about things a little deeper, but
Right.
whatever. It's my
Sometimes
life.
you
This
just
is
got to
how I
try
live
it and just go for it and see if it works or not.
it. Yeah. So now kind of to bring you through the timeline, I'm like 21 and I'm doing the 30 days to healthy living with Arbonne, which is really just, using their supplements and eating a whole foods based diet, not drinking alcohol, being gluten-free, dairy-free, but the rest is whole foods based diet. And I actually felt amazing. I had lost like 7 pounds. I could see a huge difference in how much like inflammation was in my body. And
Yeah.
I really started to understand the connection between what I was eating and how I felt. And it started to make more sense. As all of this time, I was just willy-nilly. I didn't have any help or support. I didn't really know what it was that my body was seeking. And so I found some like salvation in that way of eating. And
That's amazing.
eventually I, gave up with the Arbonne supplements and I just ate a whole foods based diet. But then I got pregnant and I was pregnant when I was 22. So, not long after that whole kind of experience of finally feeling good in my body. And I really struggled. I had really, really bad nausea. So I was throwing up with my son until like 20 weeks pregnant. And I also, looking back, I was definitely had like some pre-pregnancy, or sorry, not postpartum. What is it called when growing up? Whenever I'm growing the baby, I
When you're
have,
pregnant?
yeah, when I was pregnant, I had some deep depression. I actually
Mm,
had just moved to Colorado. I found out the day before I moved that I was pregnant, and I was pretty alone out there. And definitely, like I said, I was struggling with the nausea and a lot of mental health issues that I didn't really realize or recognize at the time. And then I moved back to Vermont. That's where I live now, and to have my family around and to have my baby. And I had a really, really traumatic birth.
oh, I'm
And
so
to this
sorry.
point of like, I remember, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I remember being at the mercy of all of the doctors and my soul not being a part of my body. And I had this real um, aha moment almost of like, wow, this body that is technically mine, right? It's just for now. And it was like this most scary and beautiful experience ever because it gave me the freedom to know like my soul is not my body And that was really healing for me because all of this time, previous to that, I had this really kind of love-hate relationship with my body, right? It did a lot of great things for me as far as, I am blessed to be athletic and I don't have any ailments and, it's strong, it's taking care of me, all those things. But then also I had this relationship of like, it doesn't look the way I want it to look, or it's not as good enough for quote unquote society compared to those girls on Instagram or whatever it is.
Oh,
And so when
Instagram.
I know,
My
and so when I
love-hate
was like
relationship.
I was having my son and I realized like my soul and my body are not the same and it's my responsibility to take care of my body. It's my responsibility to keep it strong while I'm here. It was like, whoa, deep.
That's huge. I wish more people had that revelation that
Oh,
we
it
really
was
are
so
three
deep.
parts and we have to take care of our body. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's so
so
good.
thank you. It was quite a moment for me. But it actually, that experience, other than that, part, and of course, getting my son at the end, and thankfully he was healthy and nothing was wrong with him. I really did not know how to put those pieces of my soul and my body back together.
Mm.
And so for a year, I did not look in a full body length mirror. And it wasn't that I hated my body at that time, it just wasn't mine. Like it was technically mine, but in my head, it wasn't my body. And it took me a long time to figure out that we're actually one and the same. We're a team, my soul and my body. And I ended up breaking up with my son's father when he was about a year, not quite a year and a half. And at that time, I was just kind of broken. I was doing some good things for my health as far as I was eating okay. And, I was doing my best to take care of myself and my son. But mentally and physically, I was still sort of broken. There wasn't this part of me yet that was like whole. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do something that scares the ever living heck out of me. And that was a couple things. One was to learn how to ski because I live in Vermont and I couldn't ski. And the other one was to run a half marathon.
That's phenomenal that your strategy to integrate yourself was to fight fears and to tackle challenges head on. Like, that's an incredible strategy.
Yeah, so I knew
What
that
inspired you to do that?
I have been listening to a lot of podcasts up until this point. Podcast was actually something that was probably my closest friend in that season. And it's one reason why I have a podcast today is because I've learned so much from other people's stories, from listening to them share their lives and their advice and everything. And so I knew that I needed to build my confidence in order to feel like myself again. I was so down at that point of my life. I was 23, I had a little baby, I was a single mom now,
So you
and
were already doing like the hardest things, and yet you were like, let's just go harder. I like you. Let's just go for it.
like I said,
I'm gonna
I'm
see the black
extreme.
diamonds.
I
Oh,
think more than anything, it was like I was trying to seek something outside of motherhood that was just for me. And
yeah.
when you're a mom at any age, I think, like you just give so much of yourself willingly to your children. And we don't do that because we don't love them. We love them so much. And at that time, I knew I was broken inside. And I knew that I needed to do something that was just for myself. And so to me, that looked like going skiing, apparently, and running a half marathon. And so I bought the $400 stroller with the money I didn't have. That was a running stroller.
Were
And
you a runner before? Like,
no.
oh my goodness, the thought of running for me is like, I will only run if a bear is chasing me, or, like running, I loathe it. So you just decided
Well,
just
so
to,
I
well, you were
had,
already an athlete. You were used
yeah.
to soccer, so you were kind of a runner, but not.
Yeah. So I, like I was an athlete growing up, but I also had a couple good friends that I had made at the time who were runners, my friend Olivia and my friend John, and they ran all the time. And my friend John ran because of mental health. And it made him feel better. And Olivia, she's just awesome. She just runs. It's like in her blood, it's in her family, it's in her lifestyle. But for John, him and I were very similar in our stories, and I won't share his story at all, but he was a runner. And so I was like, you know what? He runs and it helps his head. And so I got like I said, I got the running stroller. I bought some good shoes and I put my kid in the stroller because you know what? Once I bought the shoes and the stroller, it was free to go for a run. And I could
Absolutely.
bring my son with him anytime I wanted. And he was happy. He liked the stroller. And so I wasn't like I had to find a babysitter to go to the gym. I didn't have to leave him behind. He was with me the entire time. And that's what I could do. I was a single mom. And even though I have an amazing family, you can't ask your family for everything all of the
Right.
time. You have to pick
Yeah.
and choose. And you sometimes feel guilty when you pick and choose. And so if at least if he was with me, I didn't carry that guilt. And so I ran and I ran and I ran. I didn't stop running and it sucked and it was hard. And then all of a sudden, I was supposed to run a half marathon in August. My mom had scheduled one in May and she couldn't run it. And so she was like, hey, Jade, do you want to take my ticket and run this half marathon? And the farthest I had ran at that time was like 8 miles, and a half marathon is 13. And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I went and I was scared out of my mind because the farthest I had ran was 8 miles. I had to get up at 4 in the morning all by myself. Luckily, my best friend in the world, Mackenzie, came with me. She had my son, and we had to stay overnight in a hotel. I was scared to go drive the car to the parking lot and, park there, get on this bus with a bunch of strangers that I didn't know. I had a couple of those uh, goo packets in my,
Oh no.
pouch.
Yeah.
And I had never used those before. And I was freezing when I got to the top because we were in the White Mountains. And I was practically shaking, but I had made some friends at the top with these girls who like seemed nice enough because I didn't want to stand by myself. And so I was like, hi, I'm Jade. Can I stand with you? They were like, yes, of course you can stand with us. And I was like, thank the loving God that these people are right here with me. And they watched my stuff while I went to the bathroom and, everything was fine, but it was scary. And so then there I was running this half marathon. The buzzer had gone and I was on mile 2 and I'm like, man, this is kind of hard. But then I went to mile 5 and I was like, I got this. And then at mile 6, I had a goo and I was like, wow, that actually really helped me. And then I kept
Okay.
going and kept going. And every single mile there was a flag. And I feel like that flag was a symbol of, I can do it. I'm getting so much closer. I can do this. And so when I crossed that finish line at the half marathon, I finally felt like it was me again.
Oh,
And I am so much stronger than I thought I could ever be. And I can do anything that I want to do. And I want to share that with you because sometimes when we're so low, it can feel impossible to do things that are hard. But when you actually do the things that are hard, you feel amazing. You build that confidence and that trust within yourself because up until that time, I had almost never finished things that I started. Like I had been reading books, but I never finished the book. Or I
ah,
would
yes,
do
we
a
great type
challenge.
A people, we love starting things, but finishing through is their weakness. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew that if I was going to show up for myself, I needed to start finishing things. And so that half marathon was really one of those first things that I started finishing. And then after
Wow.
that, it became so much easier. And then, sorry, this is a long story, but
Oh,
it
I
kind of
love
led
it.
me to going after more of those things that I really wanted to do. And one of them was to do the nutritional therapy practitioner program through the NTA. I
Mm.
had learned about that program probably 5 years prior to, at this point, running the half marathon. But there was always, it's not the right time, it's too much money, you know, when am I going to be able to do that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And about a year after that half marathon, I just signed up And I did the program, I loved it, and I felt like I finally understood what I was really here to do. And it wasn't to teach middle school science, it wasn't to teach special ed as much as I, have fond and not fond memories and experiences there. But it
I
was really to
bet.
help
Mm.
people find themselves again after feeling lost or misunderstood or, in pain or discomfort, to really thriving and having energy and feeling well in their being and their body again.
Oh man, that's incredible. That's really impressive. That takes so much courage. It just takes an abundance of courage. Isn't Jade's story incredible? I love just, I love everything about it. So that was part one. Hold on to your seats for part two. But before we move on, I just wanted to put a really quick plug in for my course that I just launched. It's for homeschool high school students. It's a health course, one semester multimedia online course where you get me live once a week for an hour. You can ask me all your health questions, but it's a health class that you can't find anywhere else. It is one of a kind, truly built to activate and empower students to take full control of their health, to understand what digestive distress is and understand those different symptoms and how to hack it and heal themselves. For those student athletes who want to perform better and recover faster, we give those tips and tricks too in the health course. We cover everything from stress to sleep, movement, and even how to understand what a scientific study looks like and read one, if it's legit or not, as well as to understand your patient rights. So this is a course specifically designed to really empower students and engage them with practical tools so that they have everything that they need to know when they leave the house. Get ready for part two. Jade's pretty awesome. She's got some pretty amazing advice. One of the things that I've heard you talk about a little bit in your podcasts and is burnout. What is burnout to you then?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked. So, burnout is this state of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion that's really caused by chronic stress. And that can be, related to work, caregiving, just ongoing life pressures. And it's more than just this feeling of being tired or overwhelmed. It's like this deeper sense of depletion that you can feel in your bones, that you really just kind of lose that glow of life almost. Everything kind of seems like almost gray or black and white versus like those vibrant colors of life, of the greens, the blues, the yellows. That's what burnout is to me.
And
And
why is it something that you've become quite passionate about? I mean, I can hear it in your story. I can see the threads, of you hitting the lows and the highs in your story, but tell me why this particular topic is so close to your heart.
yeah, so I think this goes into something that's like much deeper about what I believe. And I believe that we are all here for a God given purpose. And we are not just meant to lead lives that don't feel expanding. Like, we're supposed to contribute something to this world and to share love and to be of service. And when we are burned out, we're not doing any of those things. And so it really goes back to this idea of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't, and I
Okay.
feel like I
Yeah,
should,
let
but
me
I
share. Let me
don't.
share about it. So
Yeah.
that Maslow is a psychologist, and he lived a long time ago, but he gave us some really good ideas about life. And so he has this hierarchy. So imagine, like a triangle, and at the base of the triangle is physiological needs like food, water, sleep, shelter, your basic survival. And then the next layer, closer to the point of the triangle is safety. So that's our stability, security, our health, a safe environment. The next is love and belonging. So friendship, family, connection, community. After that is esteem needs. So, are you confident? Do you feel like you can achieve things? Do you have respect for yourself and others? And at the very top is self actualization. This is living in your purpose, your personal growth, becoming the best version of yourself. And so, that's where I believe that people are truly their best, right? That's where they
Yeah.
can really impact others in this beautiful way and be loving and be generous and care for not just themselves but other people. But you can't move up that hierarchy until you've met the lower level. And so this means you can't have safety needs of stability, security, health, and a safe environment if you don't have food, water, sleep, and shelter. And so when I'm thinking about burnout and thinking about what I think causes burnout, we need to dig first deeper at supporting those lower levels in the hierarchy. So making sure people have food and not just food, right? As nutritional therapists, they need to be able to digest that food. They need to be able to get the proper nutrients in order for their body to support them and rebuild the structures and to function properly. They need to be able to sleep. We might not be able to help someone get a roof over their head, but if they can't have a job because they don't have the energy to go there, that's those first basic levels that as nutritional therapy practitioners, we have so much support that we can offer people to
Hmm.
get them to the point of self-actualization, of being able to give and live in their purpose and grow and be their best selves.
Love it. So what are some ways or your particular favorite top tips to prevent getting burned out?
Yeah, so I have a couple. So I'll start with the one I think is the most powerful, but it's also probably the one that people aren't going to want to do. And this is figuring out how to live your life according to your values. And so, what this looks like as a practice would be to sit down and write what your values are. So, for example, some values could be family, health, wealth, authenticity, beauty, honesty, friendship, travel, whatever you value, there's no judgment here. But write out what are those buckets that really fill you up? How do you live in, how are you going to move towards living a life according to your values? And then write out what your life is right now in a super non judgmental way. And write it in a way as if like you were a spectator looking in, right? What is your
That's
week
good.
like from someone else's point of view? Don't sugarcoat it. Don't make it worse than it is. Just write out exactly what it is that you do each week, each day, each month, whatever. And then look at your values again and say, am I living my life according to those values? If you value friendship and it's been a month and you have not called your friend, if you have not seen your friends, I'm going to tell you what, that's not going to help you feel good, right? You're not going to be living a life according to your values. And to me, that's the first way that we can prevent burnout is if you're actually doing the actions that you want to do. And some of them are easier to change, right? If friendship's your bucket, you can call your friend anytime. Everyone has a cell phone, right? Call them on the way to church. Call them at while you're driving your kids to school. Call them when you're in the shower, even. I don't know, whatever you do. You can always make time.
Those are some good friends there.
Yeah. You can always make time, though, if
Hmm.
it's at front of your mind as a value. But we get so caught up in the busyness, in the productivity, in the chaos of life that we don't realize sometimes that we're filling our day to day with things that are not actually in alignment with us. And so, one of the most powerful things we can do is actually remove those things that are not in alignment and put in the ones that are. So, like I said, that's probably my most challenging but powerful burnout tip. Otherwise, if that feels like, whoa, Jade, that's way too much, I'm not ready for that step yet.
That's a
um,
pretty amazing step, but it sounds challenging, but really it's not. Like when you put pen to paper and you just go for it, it won't take very long to do, and it's so it you can just mentally even just dump onto that paper. It probably feels amazing just to go through that process.
Yeah, it does. I think the most challenging thing is not actually that process of like dumping and like pulling it out of your head. It's like the mirror that it shines back at you, right?
Oh yeah, that
Because,
part. Yeah, that would be the
yeah.
challenging part. Oh wait, I'm not actually living up to my own values. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's like coming from this place of like, I'm not here to judge myself, I'm not here to judge others, but I do need to start somewhere. And this could be a really powerful place to start.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So then my other tips are to get a good night's sleep. So
Oh,
if you
girl,
are not
speaking my language.
sleeping, man, it's going to be just, there's going to be so many other factors that are going to be more challenging. If you're not sleeping, it's going to mess with your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone. And so it's going to make you crave the things, the types of foods that are not going to keep you healthy.
Hmm.
And along with that, it's just trying to stay up with your health. So eating as much whole foods as you can, just the best diet that you can within your limitations. You know, if you need to outsource some of that, if you have the means, outsource it. If you don't have the means, what can you do? Go on Pinterest, look up healthy, budget-friendly recipes. There's a ton of recipes out there. Do it on your work computer if you don't have
Oh my
one at
goodness.
home.
Yeah,
Um,
ChatGPT has become my family favorite resource to say, look, these are the ingredients we have. Help.
oh, I love
Give
that.
me the recipes. Give me the, the good stuff and help.
Yeah.
It's been very
Yeah.
inspiring. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then my last tip, so the first one was live a life in your values.
Mhm.
The second was to get sleep. And then the third was to eat healthy. But the last one is just get the support that you need. So if you need mental health support, figure out how to get it. If you need support with knowing what to feed your family, reach out to an NTP like Rebecca, an NTP like me,
Mhm.
and we can help you kind of navigate that plan for you and your family. If you need someone to watch your kid while you take a shower, ask for that help. You know, we need community. And the more sometimes I find that we ask for help, people will start asking you too. And that's a good thing because when you can start relying on each other, it makes you feel less alone. It makes you feel more supportive. And it actually makes you feel really good to give back as well.
I love that observation that you made that when we ask for help, it actually will release a person to then ask us back for help. And you get that give and take, that back and forth, and that creating that support system. That's a very good observation. That yeah, that's great. um, so, what are some of your favorite ways to encourage people to like really dig themselves out of burnout? So you talked about like preventing it. What about if someone who's completely burned out? How does someone dig themselves out of a hole?
Yeah, so I think here it's important to just put in some like common signs of burnout. So some common signs are, you know, constant fatigue even after you've rested, um, this kind of detachment from work, responsibilities, life, brain fog or reduced performance, loss of motivation or your sense of purpose, physical symptoms even like headaches, insomnia, digestive issues. Um, those are some signs. So if you're like, yep, I have that, yep, I have that, yep, I have that, like you really need to start paying attention more to what your body
Hmm.
is telling you. I think if you're at that point right now, you know, maybe just pick two things that you could do that are just for you. And so maybe it's not the half marathon like I did, right? Maybe it's just getting to bed an hour earlier than you typically do and not being on your phone for that hour. Or
Mm.
maybe it's um, eating an extra snack during the day because you know that you're under eating in general. Like just pick a couple things that you know are going to be better for your health. Like people know, right? We don't always do it, but we
No, we
know
don't.
the
That's, I think, our
basics. And
downfall is we know, but we don't. Yeah, we don't do
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And sometimes like sometimes you do need specialized help for more of like a chronic illness or something like that. But in a general sense, we know pretty much what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. And so kind of just adding in one or two things each day that are for you and to benefit you and your body is can go a really long way with burnout. The other thing is if you're at that point, I would take a good hard look at your boundaries. And
Ooh, the B word.
yeah, this can be so hard for some people, and it's a muscle. I tell you, like the more boundaries you start putting in, the stronger that you feel, the stronger those boundaries get. And boundaries are actually a really good thing. I'm a middle
Absolutely.
school teacher in my past, and let me tell you, my kids thrive on boundaries. And it's not taking things away from them. It's just saying, hey, this is okay with me and this is not. And when you have a good solid boundary like that, it's going to start eventually being pushed less against because it's held firm. After a while, people are not going to push against it. And so maybe you need to set a boundary with yourself even to say,
That's
okay,
where it starts,
at
isn't it?
7 o'clock
Knowing,
at
yeah,
night,
yourself.
I am not going to be on my phone after that.
Oh
And
man, that's got to be like the hardest one in the world. Especially
yeah,
all of us
pick something
dudes for
that like
work.
resonates, right, with
Right.
you in that moment.
It's a good
But
one though.
um, yeah, I think having boundaries is a way to love yourself, and it can be very hard for some people. It doesn't come naturally, but even if it doesn't come naturally, it doesn't mean that it can't eventually be something that you're really good at.
Right. Especially if you're, yeah, especially if you're a mom and especially if you're a people pleaser or if your love language is of acts of service, it's really hard to say no and it's really hard to, yeah, understand what you really are capable of. And wow, that is really, really good. Um, Man,
Yeah,
this is
and
awesome.
like you think about though, like those signs of burnout, right? Of like being fatigued, reduced performance, having less sense of motivation or purpose, having a headache. Like how can you show up, right? If you're all of those things too. And how could you show up if you or had energy, if you had a positive mindset, if you could bring excitement into the room and strength and energy like into a situation, that's so much more serving
Mm-hmm.
than being like saying yes and being in a bad mood or having no
Right.
energy or not being able to contribute to your full ability.
Capacity. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. Um, so reviewing everything that you've kind of been through and what you've gone through in life and all the things that you've learned through your lows and your highs and your challenges, if you were to go back to your 16-year-old self and give her one piece of advice, what would it be?
Wow, that is so deep. Um, I think honestly, I would just tell her to give herself a little more grace.
Mm.
And it's something I still struggle with. I still struggle with um, being too hard on myself, to expecting too much, to not being the way that I want to be in my head at times. And, I think just giving yourself a little bit more grace is a good thing
What
because,
does the word grace mean to you?
well, that's trouble. That's a hard one too. So I think that grace is, to me, giving myself a little bit of kindness and compassion for the season of life that I'm in and allowing my best to just be okay and to just be good enough.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you. If someone were to want to work with you, where would they find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So, my business is called Move Holistic Health and Nutrition. It's out of Vermont, but I see clients primarily remotely. And so you can go on my website there at www.moveholistichealthandnutrition.com and you can see all of my services. I also have a podcast myself. It's called Move, Grow, Rise Podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify. And then I have Instagrams for both of those. So again, at Move Holistic Health and Nutrition and at Move Grow Rise Podcast.
And I'll put all that in the show notes so people can find you easily. Wow, thank you so much, Jade. I love your humility and your honesty and your authenticity. And I think so many people are going to connect and resonate with you. And man, I know the burnout thing, the valleys and the peaks are just part of life, and your perspective and how to get through that is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Thank you so much for joining me today on Liberty Wellness. I hope you're walking away feeling encouraged, refreshed, and a little less alone. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Jade as much as I did in this conversation. And if you do try her hack to face a fear and attempt a new challenge in your life, please let me know how that goes. If you also either want to work with her or me, check out the show notes and all the ways to connect with us. If this episode spoke to you, I would love it if you could do me a solid and be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs a boost of faith and wellness today. Have a great week, y'all.